last one last time. I don't
That
remember this.
was funny.
I
I'm
know we
sorry.
got like to like the end point. I'm like, I didn't press record. So
Oh no.
we'll see. Before I share my screen with you guys, I don't know if you saw the topic on today's call, but it is the idea of reverse dieting. So before we even, again, before I share my screen all that with you, are we familiar with what that term is or not so much on the back end?
No.
No? Shelly, nothing from you? No? Okay. Well, then we're starting from
Great.
scratch. Let's
Okay.
do this then. Let me share my screen with you guys here. Share screen. Sweet. Able to see everything on here?
Yes.
Okay. So, kind of like saying, today's topic is how to, or sorry, really reverse dieting. But all that really means is how do you train yourself to come out of a calorie deficit without the fear of gaining weight, without feeling guilty about, hey, I'm eating off plan. I think for a lot of people, this is an area where they really struggle is, hey, you ate really clean, you hit your goal weight, you got your, you went to this festival, you felt great there. But now coming back home, how do I get back to a more sustainable plan? Jamie, I know you and I are kind of on the same boat with this, where like dieting is not a for life thing. It definitely needs to be sustainable. And
Correct.
so reverse dieting is that idea of how do we get back to a more sustainable way of life? So question for you guys before we actually dive into everything, I'm gonna pull you up so I can actually see you all on my end. Um, after, let's see, where'd you go? Leah, I know you've been working with someone for a while. You've been training, kind of doing your own thing. Have you at any point in that already gotten to like a goal you've wanted to be at, whether it be like a muscle gain, weight loss, something like that?
I mean, well, so I don't work with anyone, I just take classes.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, yes and no. Like there have been times where I'm like super thrilled about my weight and then but I'm still like kind of in the back of my head, I'm like, ah, no, I could go lower, you know. So it's I've never really had that like set goal of okay, I'm gonna get there and I'm here and now I'm, gonna kind of go back. Like I've never
Mhm.
kind of gotten to that point. So no.
Yeah. Well, I think you kind of even touch on it too, is you kind of hit that middle ground sometimes, right? Where it's like, okay, I've made progress.
Hmm.
I know what it takes to maybe get to that next step, but maybe you have festivals coming up, maybe life comes up, hey, that's not realistic for me right now.
Right.
So even on the flip side, hey, I've been putting in all this work. How do I get back to a more sustainable route without losing the progress that I just made?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Jamie, personal story for you. I know because you kind of had this back and forth. I feel like you've reverse dieted probably a million times in your life. Um, Give me an
Yeah.
example. Like, is there a time when you've had to do that on your own?
Correct. So a while back, like a couple years ago, I wasn't really using the scale as a way to figure out what my results were. I was going off of how I felt, how my clothes fit, more energy, and the way I looked in the mirror when I was naked, right? And so then I got to a point where I decided to weigh myself because I was like, I know I've dropped weight. I'm really happy with where I'm at. But it started to become concerning. People were asking if I was abusing substances, and some family was concerned and saying like you've dropped a significant amount of weight, and even though it wasn't really done in an unhealthy way, like yes, there was some stress and anxiety that factored into part of that weight loss, but the majority of it was healthy, and I was doing it very intuitively, slight calorie deficit, really changed my habits around getting those results. But I took it too far, and I got on the scale and I saw the weight, and it was way lower than what I was kind of wanting and what I felt like was too low for me, and I know where my happy weight is. I know exactly what that number is and what that looks like for me. And so I then realized, like, okay, oh shit, I took this a little too far. I wasn't expecting it. I'm glad I hopped on the scale. And so then I had to sort of reverse diet because I had been in a calorie deficit. And I also had to reverse diet out of my severe calorie deficit that I was in before I got to the correct calorie deficit. Because I was so low, I had to slowly increase back up to the right calorie deficit. And then when I realized I wanted to kind of put some weight back on, I had to then reverse diet in order to be able to do so. And it was really difficult. It was honestly more difficult than I ever expected.
Yeah. I think like you mentioned, it's really difficult. And I think the reason it's difficult is well, I think for two reasons. One, it changes all the time, like the amount you can take in. Two, I think it personally takes more discipline to slowly bring yourself back up versus just do a big cut or like eat taking a bunch of food like we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago.
Well, and my body got so used to what I was doing. I, to be honest, wasn't really good about taking like breaks from my calorie deficit. I did do the 80-20 rule. So it's not that I was in a severe deficit or even a deficit every single day. Like I did have some days, but I still never gave myself like a good enough time in those years to be like, okay, hey, let's just do like a maintenance for right now. And so my body was so used to what I was eating that I felt like I was force feeding myself when I was trying to reverse diet a little bit, that I had to do it in the tiniest little increments each week because it felt like I was stuffing myself so full after so long of being in a calorie deficit.
Yeah. And again, that's exactly why I wanted to bring this up is because I think when it comes to reversing, like you mentioned, there is a lot of guilt and sometimes a lot of fear about, am I doing the right things? Am I going to gain this weight back? There's a right way to do it. So that's why I want to bring this up is let's dive into how to actually do it the right way. So first things first, we've already kind of dove into this, but essentially all reverse dieting is finding a slow and structured way. Let me move this so I can actually read my text there. Slow and structured way to add calories back into your diet after a prolonged period of deficit. The reason you do this is because it just helps you find a new maintenance level. Typically, when you do any kind of calorie deficit, your goal is to preserve muscle mass while losing body fat. The more muscle mass you have, the more calories your body's going to burn at rest. And so your maintenance level, therefore, increases as well. Your maintenance might be slightly higher than it was in the past. Hence, why we reverse is to slowly get you back to that point. A big one, and I think this is for both men and women, honestly, is one, the hormone regulation. We all know like how much being in a deficit for prolonged periods of time affects the hormones, especially women. If you are in the process of potentially trying to have kids, build relationships, stuff like that, you can't do that in an extreme deficit. It's not healthy. Jamie, I feel like you have a story, so I'm going to let you talk. So I feel like you have a
I
story.
was like, this, especially to women. I have preached this, and some of the festival babes actually know this because I've talked to you about it. But I truly feel like a lot of my like womanly issues are because of the constantly restricting and then binging and being in too much of a calorie deficit and going on these crash diets. I kind of am beating myself up about it, but I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I'm going to use my story to bring awareness to this so that other women don't do it. But I do believe that a lot of the issues that I'm currently experiencing is what I did a long time ago that was unhealthy and just really put a lot on my body because I was so desperate to try to lose weight. And now I am paying some pretty unfortunate consequences for it. So, but it's okay. We're working on it. We're fixing it.
Day by day. Yeah, and again, it does have a lot of not does, but can have negative impacts when you're in a deficit for that long. And I often find, Jamie, I know you have this with women you work with as well. If you've been under eating for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, this reverse dieting process can honestly take like an entire 6 months to a year. Later on, I'll talk about time frame with it, but I think this really is dependent, just depending on how long you've been in these habits for. So, a couple signs that you know that you need to do a reverse diet. There's a whole list of them here, but number one is you've hit a plateau. This happens a lot with my guys actually, is we make some good, like we trim down body fat, we get to a good point, and 2, 3, 4 weeks go by and they are just steady. Typically means like, hey, we've made good progress. We need to slowly bring you up a little bit. Other more common ones that you'll notice, low energy, brain fog. You'll start getting bloated, a lot of digestive issues. You start getting sick really often. For women, irregular periods, hair loss, those are two big ones. You really will notice your body kind of start to turn on you, kind of, Jimmy, like you were saying, when you're in a deficit for that long. I think the big one, and this is a huge one, I think, for almost everyone that we work with, like my mouse will come back here, your hunger cues will pretty much be non-existent. If you're waking up or going through your day and you're like, huh, it's 2 p.m. and I have not had a meal yet, it's probably because your hunger cues have shut off and we need to reverse diet you back up to that maintenance. That's like one of the biggest indicators right there. Either to Shelly or Leah, have you felt this way in the past and kind of wondered like why you were having some of these symptoms?
I've definitely had like where I've woken up and been like super hungry, and then had times where I've woken up and not been hungry and been like, why? Why am I suddenly super hungry this morning? Or why this morning I'm not hungry at all? And I forget about food until 2 p.m.
Mhm.
Um, but then I looked it up and they said that, I mean, I don't remember what it said, but I remember it saying that you should be hungry when you wake up. So I was like, okay, I need to make sure I'm eating right. So when I wake up, I am hungry.
Yeah, that's literally the idea of kind of like we talked about, being in that deficit for so long. You might not even realize you're in a deficit, but doing that for so long, your body will just be like, you know what? You're not going to feed me. I'm going to turn off my hunger cues, and I'm just not going to tell you I'm hungry, which is great because you're like, okay, cool. I don't have to eat until you start getting sick more often, brain fog, mood swings, anxiety, and then all this stuff starts to kick in. So that's like the initial little red flag. And then you start getting all of these if you don't listen to your body on the back end. So, clicking into the next one here, kind of how the whole system works. Again, it's just slowly adding calories in intentionally to help your body bounce back. The goal: reduce your stress levels, rebalance your hormones, bring your metabolism back up, helping you just burn more without physically exercising. There's a whole term for just the amount of calories that your body burns just breaking down food. And so by implementing some of that, yes, you do increase just the amount you burn. Let me click over here. Tab keeps hiding every time I go to click over. Cool. So in terms of like how to actually figure out how, when you should start, all things like that. First things first, look at your recent intake and see how your body's been feeling. Check in with yourself, really. I know, Jamie, both you and I are not like, we're not big proponents on tracking your entire life in terms of nutrition forever.
Correct.
But I do think if you've been, kind of running low for a while, it's a really nice thing to be like, hey, let's just track what my week looks like. And if you notice yourself eating 700, 800, 1,000, 1,200 calories for like an entire week straight, it might be time to start making some of these changes. Granted, if you've been under eating for a while, or you've been in a deficit for a long time, trying to eat a lot of food again is not doable. I mean, you could, but you're going to feel bloated, sluggish, probably some GI issues in there. So the real key is to start slowly adding in anywhere from 150 to 300 calories per day. Typically, and hopefully on your last deficit, you had a high protein diet. And so we would mostly start upping those from our carbs and fats. Jamie, I feel like you've had a couple girls you've had to do this with who came in just more so under eating. And so you've had to do more so this method with slowly increasing from the back end.
Yeah, I would say the majority of my clients actually have been under eating to it, like too much under eating to a certain extent, not just, the slight calorie deficit that you need to be in order to lose fat in a healthy, sustainable way, but like severely low. And in order to get them to a point where they need to be, we've had to like, I usually do week by week, and sometimes it even takes them a couple weeks. So usually for 1 week, we'll increase it by 150. I do like 150 to 200 every week. And then each week keep increasing it until we finally get to where it needs to be at. And because that slow, sustainable way that we do it, it usually happens without them feeling bloated or like they, oh, I stuffed myself so full, I feel so sick, I can't move. It just really helps prevent that. And they eventually get to a point where they're like, wow, my hunger cues are coming back, like I'm feeling hungrier. And then also your body will start to recognize when it's full. So that's another thing when it comes to the signs of when you need to possibly reverse diet is when you lose your hunger cues completely. For me, it was in the past when I would, just like eat half of a meal that really wasn't that much and I couldn't finish it. And then I was like, oh, that's not good because I can't even finish my scrambled eggs with a piece of toast. Like that's hardly anything. So that was kind of when I knew when my body was like, hey, you're done. You can't have any more. I was like, that's not good. And then also the other side of the spectrum with the binging and restricting and everything, when I would binge, my hunger cues did not tell me when I was full. And I did not realize until I was so sick that I would almost like throw up or just be rock hard, solid stomach and just sitting there in pain. And that's kind of when I realized that I needed to make a change and reverse diet.
Yeah, and like you said, it can be really, really difficult to do. And this is where the fear, the guilt, some of that stuff comes in. Is if you've been in a deficit for a while and you add 200, 300 calories to your diet, yeah, you're probably gonna feel pretty full to start. You're gonna feel bloated. I think you just have to acknowledge the fact of like, hey, this is just part of the process. There's no need to force feed to where, hey, I want to throw up.
Yeah.
But understand that, hey, just pushing this a little bit, yes, I might feel a slight discomfort, but this is only temporary so that I can get to my long-term goal. And I like how you mentioned too, doing this stuff week by week, because in terms of checking in, that's really how you have to do it. The number on the scale shouldn't move that much. So like that's not going to be our big indicator here. Your weight's not going to go up like crazy. You're not going to have drastic changes. what we need to pay attention to is your energy, your mood, digestion. Yes, that even means like how many times you go into the bathroom a day. If you're only going once a day or not at all, we know we got some digestion issues. So little things like that are more so what we pay attention to rather than just the physical number on the scale. Before I keep going on in terms of like how to start things up or how to recognize yourself, questions on this so far? Me too. No, feeling good? Sweet. So over time, once you start to add in calories slowly but surely, look at that. Your hunger cues will finally come back. This is why I put this at the top, is because this is probably the number one indicator. I get messages from members and they're like, I've been force feeding for this week. It's been really hard. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry all the time. And I'm like, perfect. That's what I want for you. That's how I know you're in a sweet spot. The energy levels in the gym start to pick up. They actually get a lot better sleep because I can imagine, as I'm sure you guys probably have too, when you go to sleep, just stressed, hangry, under eating, you don't wake up feeling great. So that's like a big indicator as well. And same with brain fog. Obviously, you guys work a ton with content, you work online, you're just constantly doing things. There's a million and one thoughts through your brain. It's a lot easier to process those things when your body's actually starting to get the fuel that it needs once again. Jamie, I feel like I know even you and I have talked about this quite a bit where like you run yourself so dry, plus maybe even having some issues to where you undereat, and then this ends up being the big roadblock for you.
Yeah, 1000%. Honestly, for a lot of my clients too, it's the same thing where they feel like they're less productive in their work or, they just feel like they're super out of it all the time. And I'm like, you're under eating. Like if you're feeling that way, then you're under eating and we need to reevaluate what you're doing. So, but most of them, that's usually in the beginning. And then obviously with increasing the calories, doing the reverse diet, they eventually get to where, like you said, the hunger cues, they're feeling hungry more often. They feel like sometimes they can't stop eating, but at the same time, they're able to recognize when they're full. So it's not like, it's just that every 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, they're like, I could use a little snack. And that's a good sign in my opinion when my clients are telling me that they're starting to feel hungry every 2 to 3 hours and they can eat something, but then they eat something not super big and crazy and they're like, okay, this is perfect. And then they can go another period of time until
Yeah.
they eat again.
Yeah. And again, I think the really to sum this all up, because I know there's just a lot of info we're throwing at you. I think overall, when it comes to reverse dieting, again, the biggest thing to look at, like I said, isn't the number on the scale. It really is how are you feeling? How's your mental space? How's your energy feel? That's how you can determine if you're going in the right direction versus just the physical number on a scale.
Oh, also, I want to make something very clear too, because I know us women, we tend to do this. It is completely normal for your stomach to expand throughout the day and for your body to change. And so I want you all to be very aware of this, of if you are going to judge yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and or even get on the scale, right, to try to see like, okay, what results have I? Don't do it at night. Don't do it at night because you've had a full day of eating, drinking water. Maybe you went to the gym, your blood was flowing, you got a little pump on, your body swelled up. Because of that, it is completely natural for our stomachs to look bigger and expand throughout the day because of what we ate. Now, being so bloated and sick to your stomach and feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm like, my clothes are way too tight, that's a different story. But if you're just seeing a little bit of your stomach poking out more than it did when you woke up and you took a poop before you ate breakfast, right? That is completely normal. And so do not judge yourself because like honestly to me it's not good if your stomach is flat and looks the same from when you wake up till the moment you go to bed. That's not normal. You're not eating enough. If you're still feeling super slim and you're like, oh, my stomach is still so unbelievably flat, to me, in my opinion, that means that you're not eating enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you. Again, you're going to fluctuate throughout the day. I think unfortunately women fluctuate a lot more than men. It's just the reality of it. But like you said, it's not anything to be scared of. It's literally just natural. So you kind of bump like, kind of pushes us into the same topic too, in determining when you should actually up your calories. I think this is the hardest part for a lot of people is like, okay, I made this little jump. Should I add more? Do I add less? What do I do? You kind of get in this weird little gray zone. So little like checklist just to make it easier for you. Let's say you start off week one. Okay, I just finished this deficit for the past 8 weeks. Cool. Now I'm going to start slowly back adding in food. Let's say you run it for 2 weeks. You added in 300 calories and you still are feeling pretty run down. Digestion's not great. Your mood's not great. Your sleep quality's not great. Bump it up again. Simple. Add a little bit more. Cool. If by that point you're feeling better, your energy is in the gym better, is a little bit better, you're more social, you actually want to go out at night, you don't just want to stay home and hide all night, add a little bit more. The reason we add a little bit more and not just sit there is because, again, we're trying to find our new maintenance. If you went through a full cycle of building muscle, losing body fat, your maintenance level is going to be higher. So we need to kind of push it a little bit to see where that new maintenance is. Let's say you came, cool, I had 300 more calories in 2 weeks. You continue to feel better. Your strength's going through the roof. You're hitting big numbers in the gym. Awesome. But the number on the scale went up a pound or two. Again, it's not really anything to alarm about. We know you're going to gain a little bit of weight. You're not going to, the level you got to more than likely when in that deficit is not sustainable. That's why we call it like a cut because it's just not, you can't do that forever. If you're only gaining this minimal amount of weight, perfectly fine. That just means, okay, maybe you're building some muscle mass along the way. Maybe we're keeping our body fat relatively low. It's all part of the process. And once again, you still want to keep pushing a little bit. You want to see what this new maintenance level is going to be. So add in a little bit more food. If at that point, you added, you in total, let's say you increase 700, 800 calories, and now you notice yourself, okay, I'm like 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds heavier. Maybe now it's time, okay, that was our maintenance. Let's start tapering it off. Let's mellow out. But we have to find what that new maintenance is if you want to continue to progress. If you don't want to get stuck in that plateau, that is the sole way to do it there. Um, I know for at least for a couple of my guys that I work with, there's one guy, he's based out of Texas. He's a PA. He's got a great schedule. He works 1 week in person, 1 week off. So he spends a lot of time like training and putting towards this. But we're in this phase right now where he's never even done a full like reverse diet. He doesn't even know what his maintenance is. We've upped his calories for the past like 3 months consistently, and he still has maintained the same weight while hitting PRs. So it's like we still don't generally know what his maintenance is, hence why you kind of have to keep pushing it just to see what that natural level is. So, questions on that? I know kind of a deep dive in terms of when to bump things up. No, feeling good. Jamie, any comments you want to add at the end of that one?
Nope.
Sweet. So, on the flip side, when not to actually bump up your calories. Jamie, I feel like you and I actually had this conversation last week, I think. This is the top one here. Um, when not to bump up, if you know in yourself that you have not been hitting your goals consistently, it's not worth it. And by that, I mean, let's say you were in this deficit for X amount of time, but you were going out 2, 3 nights a week, drinking, getting late night food, all things like that. You more than likely don't need to up your goal calories. You just need to get back to doing what you were supposed to be doing. That's the first things first. Second time is if you are uncomfortably full all the time. Little bit of bloatedness is normal. It's not uncommon. But if you're to the points where like I want to throw up here, yeah, probably don't. Probably don't need to up your calories at that point. And then last but not least, if your weight jumps up 3 to 5 pounds quickly, I think quickly is the key word there. Again, weight fluctuations will happen. It's just the name of the game. But if you notice within a 1 week span or a 3, 4 day span that you've gained 5 pounds, you very well may be overeating at this point, at least for what your body actually needs. I know for me and a lot of guys, this is really, really common. We tend to do what's called just like dirty bulking, where we're like, we just want to gain weight. We're just going to eat whatever we can find. And yeah, we gain the weight, but it's typically not the best way, and we don't feel great doing it. So, Jamie, anything you want to add to when not to bump things up?
Yeah, I think I preach a lot about the 80-20 rule. And if you are following that, where 80% of the time cooking at home, making mindful decisions, maybe you're in a slight deficit, you're tracking your calories, right? And you know about how much you're burning and you're acclimating to that, but you're still like how Armando said, he said, going out on the weekends, maybe you went to a festival, you have a couple nights a week or a couple meals here and there throughout the week that you're not really tracking, you eat a pretty good amount. Maybe it might put you over on your macros a little bit. If you're doing that every so often, like the 20% of the time, that's in reality, you're giving yourself some little breaks from that deficit, which you can still lose weight and lose fat and get more shredded and lean and toned in that process. But if you are doing that where you're taking some little breaks and treating yourself here and there and following the 80-20 versus like going 100%, that's where you don't necessarily need to bump up the calories, is because you are giving yourself a break from that calorie deficit when you're doing that 20%.
Yeah. And it's, I think for a lot of people, including myself, or so I literally like caught myself doing this earlier. It's really, really hard to admit when you're overeating or eating like off plan. Like for example, I know I literally ran to the dentist. I didn't want to eat lunch yet because I don't want to eat a whole meal going to the dentist. I think that's weird to me. But instead I was like, okay, cool. We have these pretzel chips that we had from Desert Hearts a couple weeks or last weekend, 2 weeks ago. So literally just a handful of those. And then I'm like, oh, I had some Sour Patch watermelon candies and like literally just a handful of each. Did I track any of those? No. Do I know that still counts as my nutrition intake? Yes. So even little things like that. You got to be honest with yourself. If you know you've been on plan, cool. If you know that you're just having one-off snacks, one-off meals here and there, we need to account for those things because it does add up over time. There we go. All right. And last little bit, I know we kind of mentioned it earlier. How long do you actually need to reverse for? Again, this is really dependent on just you as a person. If you've stuck to your plan, you've been consistent, you've hit good numbers, you might only need 2 or 3 months, if that. On the flip side, if you started reverse dieting and then you had, 1 or 2 really bad weeks, and it can just take longer. Um, Not necessarily any set time frame. Every single person is dependent on just where they're at. But essentially, you'll know when you've made it, when your energy's back up, your sleep quality is great again, your digestion's great, you're not having GI issues, your stomach's not hurting you all the time. You actually have regular hunger cues, and number one, you can actually feel like a normal human being again. Being in a deficit can definitely screw with your head, especially once we start getting in like the hormone effects of things. So that's how you really know. Your hunger cues are back, your head's clear, and you actually feel good like you want to take on more. So, questions on this one in terms of how long we should be in it for? No,
No.
no. I think first, oh, go on.
Oh, I said no.
Okay. I think I was gonna say personal for mine. I think I haven't competed for a long time. I think last time was like 2021. But I remember even back then, I was like, you know what? The coach I had was like, let's reverse diet. You're gonna want to, and I was like, no, I don't want to. I'm just gonna go back to eating how I want because I was just so like deprived of regular food. I remember even back then, he had me take what do they call it? Like a diuretics, like a water pill, so where it flushed all the water off me. And I didn't listen to the reverse diet like we were supposed to, and I literally just ate and drank anything and everything. I put on about like 25 pounds in a month, and my stomach hurt so like it was like solid rock hard, could not, it hurt. It was painful. Had to take another diuretic just to get the water off. Um, all these issues start to happen when you don't properly reverse diet. And again, that's like an extreme case because I was doing this for a prolonged period of time. But even in a smaller sense, if you've been under eating for a long time and you just say, F it, I'm going to go eat every single thing I can find, you're going to get a lot of adverse effects. And that is really, really hard to get off. So save yourself the trouble. Reverse diet yourself. Yes, it's a little more work. Yes, it's a little tedious, but you're going to feel better. Your mood's better, sleep's better, all things like that. So overall, any questions on reverse dieting? Again, I know pretty brief but in-depth overview. No, feeling good. Any last comments you want to add from your end, Jamie?
Um, no, I don't think so. That's it for me.
Sweet. So again, hopefully this was helpful. We always like doing this for you guys. It's also fun for us to kind of dive into like the nitty-gritty of nutrition. We all know social media, we can only get out like 20, 30-second little clips here and there. So doing this type of stuff does not really stick. So it's fun doing this with you guys. As always, let us know if you have questions. I like getting to check in with you guys, see how you guys are doing. But overall, let us know if you need support as you continue to go on.
Yay. Thank you.
Sure.
Of course, of course. So go
My
and
cell is always open. Feel free to text me anytime.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I think I'm going to reach out probably a little more once I move and have
Yeah.
more time to. I like it's definitely like that's another thing that I've just kind of been like putting on the back burner is like just like learning about everything and like how I should approach my issues. So that is something I'm gonna prioritize once I move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. I gotta say too, Jamie, I've been really liking your videos recently.
Oh,
Like
Hmm.
thank
stories
you.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
About what?
like your stories and stuff. And like
Oh,
I forget if this was a story or maybe you reposted a reel on your story, but you posted like about the a la carte food. And I was like, oh my God.
oh, yeah, yeah. I think it was a reel that I like reshared and then I put like a little comment with it.
Okay,
Honestly,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I sometimes just babble off and then I just post it and share it. And I just
Honestly, that's great because like sometimes I babble off too, and then I'm like, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't post this, and then I don't post it.
now I
Um,
don't care.
no,
I'm
but
just
I
like, I'm
love
gonna
that.
post it.
Hmm.
I've been doing like the a la carte like kind of way, like where like you make a bunch of protein and pasta and stuff like that. But I've been like so bored of like what I've been making. But then when you were like, I have the sauces pre-made on the side, I was like, why wouldn't I just make
Oh,
pasta and pre-made
yeah.
sauces?
Yeah, where you
Like
instead
rice
of
and chicken,
meal
I'm
prepping,
so over it.
yeah, exactly. Instead of meal prepping specific meals, you just bulk cook ingredients, you keep them all separate, and then you can mix and match them as much as you'd like. Because, yeah, when
Hmm.
people think meal prep, they think, oh, chicken, broccoli, and rice, like overnight oats for breakfast, chicken, broccoli, and rice for lunch, and then I do potatoes and fish for dinner or something like that. And I'm like, that's not what it has to be. It doesn't have to be something specific. You can just cook things in bulk, keep it separate, and then every day mix it up as however much you'd like. So I'm really glad yeah, that was a story that I actually did where I was showing you guys how to do that. So, and I reshared something else as well, but I'm glad that was beneficial because I'm someone that I get bored. Like literally 2 days of eating the same thing, I'm fucking bored. I need something else.
Yeah. I'm
Like
such
so
a
that
foodie.
yes,
I want the most extravagant meal for dinner or lunch, and that helps because then I can just like have a sauce on the side,
yep,
like different kind of sauces. And
yep.
I'm like, why didn't I do that before?
Shelly, do you like fish?
Yeah.
I have been making sesame crusted ahi tuna for like pan seared tuna, and it has like so much protein and also
Mhm.
just delicious. And like sometimes I'll do like sriracha mayo, and sometimes I'll do soy sauce, and sometimes I'll do like a chili sauce. And it's like takes like 5 minutes to cook. And
Well, I
Ooh,
also just got a like a Chef Min air fryer oven because I had a microwave and I got rid of it like a year and a half ago, and
nice.
I was just using my oven.
Huh.
So prepping and then also having to wait 10 minutes for the oven to cook
Hmm.
to
yep, yeah.
um preheat. I couldn't think of that word. Preheat and then also 10 minutes for it to cook. It was just a lot.
Yeah.
So I have that air fryer and I can also cook meat in there too. So I'm definitely gonna try that fish thing
Yeah.
because another thing too was like preheating to cook the fish. It was just annoying as heck.
Hmm.
So I'll definitely try the
Those
eye tuna.
Yeah.
those fish oils too are like they're so good for you. They literally make capsules of fish oil so that people can just take it without having to eat fish. I like eating the
I
fish, but
take them. I take fish
Oh
yeah,
oil
yeah.
every
I'm like, I'll
day.
eat the fish. I like it.
Yeah.
That's how I'll get my fish oils because it tastes so good. I'm like, I don't want to take a pill that tastes like crap. I want to eat the
Yeah.
fish.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
I take
the
fish oil.
fish
I
oil that
still
I take, they put peppermint in it, and
Mm.
so you like don't get the fish burps, but if you do, it's like peppermint
Minty.
oily. Yeah.
uh, I was taking fish oil pills like in high school. Like,
Mm,
Yeah.
cause
it's
it
good
was
for
like,
you. Yeah.
yeah, cause it was like the big thing in high school because it was making like everyone's hair grow and all
Yeah.
these
Oh,
other things, and it was
Yeah.
good for, like if you're like iron deficient, apparently. No.
omega
Yes.
3. It's
Wait,
it's omega 3s.
is that right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Oh,
like
Omegas.
there
the
was something
best
wrong with
thing
me
that
and I
you
was like, oh,
can
this will
take
help.
for yourself, for your brain long term. Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best things you can take too. If you don't like the fishy burps, you can do krill oil.
Hmm.
It's the exact same thing, but you
Huh.
don't get the fishy burps. Or same
Interesting.
thing, like I developed an allergy to fish oils. I just take them and I just don't like
Yeah.
breaking out rashes from it.
Oh my God.
But you can
That's
do
crazy.
krill oil because it's shellfish. If you're not allergic to shellfish,
Yeah.
you're golden. And no fishy
Nice.
burps.
They
So,
also have so like where the omega 3s come from, or the omegas come from, it's from an algae. And so they have like pills of that exact like that algae that you can take and still get like the same amount of
interesting.
omegas.
Okay.
You just have to take like 3 or 4 of the capsules, which is
It's just a lot
too
more.
many, but Worth
I just
it.
switched, I just switched to vitamin C pills instead of the chewables, and it's saved my life. I had to take 3 of them, but it's so much better than chewables.
Why?
Oh, because I would immediately throw up from the chewables.
Like
It
acid
made me,
reflux?
I looked it up. Yeah, I don't know. I looked it up and like apparently it happens to a lot of people. Like I get so no matter even if I eat like a full ass meal before taking them, I still get super nauseous and like throw it up immediately.
Heck
Damn.
no.
Ugh.
Yeah. So I've just switched to the pills, but I have to take more of those than I have to do with the chewables. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't care. I'll take it.
Trade off one for the other. So,
Right.
well, yeah, maybe
Mhm.
I like the whole topic of like supplements. I think this was the last like nutrition deep dive topic we had planned.
Okay.
Mm,
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe next week we could do like an actual like supplement talk because there's
love that.
Yeah,
so
I would
many
love a
things out
supplement
there.
one. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm super into I think that's a really good one too for raves and festivals because of us all always getting sick beforehand and after, well, not beforehand, but after. Like,
Mhm.
Maggie is out right now because she just got a lung infection from being in Croatia and like I guess like she was at Ultra Europe. Oh my God, my dog, I don't know if you can see in the shadow, he just sat
I
right
keep
behind
seeing him
me.
like go back and forth.
You look at him, he's sitting right behind me. I don't know if you
Maggie.
can see. Um, but yeah, Maggie got a lung infection and I always get sick.